Have you ever questioned how to define the gospel's core message?
Amen. Have you ever wondered, thought to yourself, what or how you would identify the core message of the gospel? Have you ever thought about it like that? I mean, if somebody had to stop you on the street, let's say you're in a mall and you're walking around shopping and somebody stops you and just speaks and says, "What is the gospel? Define it for me." I wonder how many of us can actually define what the gospel. We could perhaps, I find that most people could perhaps say a little bit of what they believe the gospel to be. And I found over the years is that there are a multitude of definitions of what people believe the gospel is. The Apostle Paul, in an astonishing way, declares that even though he is the least of all of the saints, you think about the Apostle Paul viewed himself as, I'm the least of all of the saints. But this is one thing he says here, and it really struck me. He says that he has been entrusted with the task of unapologetically preaching the message of God's love and grace. And thus identifying, I believe, giving us an identification of what the gospel message is. So let's go and look at that in the Amplified Classic. Verse 8 says, Paul says, "To me, though I am the very least of all of the saints, God's consecrated people, this grace or favor or privilege was granted and graciously entrusted to preach to the Gentiles." Now notice the adjectives that you find in the Amplified Classic version. Now why would you find these adjectives? Well, because the Greek language that he's writing in is so rich that we have to, in English language, we have to add all of these adjectives just to try and get out of what he's saying. And this is what he says. He says, to proclaim to the Gentiles the unending, boundless, fathomless, incalculable, and exhaustless riches of Christ's wealth. Now notice what he says, which no human being could have searched out. Isn't that an amazing thing? Notice a couple of things that he does. He enthusiastically declares the message as the unending, boundless, fathomless, matchless, incalculable, exhaustless riches of God's favor and love, which is revealed in the person of Jesus Christ himself. Because he says this, that if you and I, or any human being, would have taken all of their lives, we could never have fathomed the depths and the riches of the message God has entrusted to him to preach. That means that left